The day humanity understands that thought has a frequency, that day, everything will change. The day Nikola Tesla died, his room was locked, but not empty. On the walls, there were no blueprints. In the drawers, there was no gold. What remained was a pattern. It wasn't a machine. It was a way of vibrating, a way of seeing the world that isn't taught. It's tuned into. Tesla knew something he didn't write down, because it couldn't be explained with words. What he discovered wasn't connected by wires. It was connected by consciousness. Behind his experiments, there was a habit, a hidden practice, a formula that few know today. The forbidden formula is not a mathematical equation. It's a dangerous combination of thought, emotion, and language. An energetic sequence that, if mastered, turns your inner vision into outer results. And that's why it was ignored, hidden, or misinterpreted. In this audiobook, I'm going to share with you what almost no one understood from his message. That you too can alter matter, but not with electricity, with the formula to generate an elevated mental state. Get ready, because what you're about to hear isn't taught in universities. It doesn't appear in history books, and yet you've carried it within you all along. This is Tesla's forbidden formula. Chapter 1. Tesla's geometric thinking, how he created exact realities before having them. Tesla didn't dream. He calculated, but not with formulas, with frequencies. Every time he said he could see an invention completely before building it, he wasn't exaggerating. He saw it spin, shine, function, and fail, all inside his mind. But what few know is that his way of thinking wasn't emotional or chaotic. It was geometric. It had structure, order, rhythm. His mind wasn't a notebook of ideas. It was a compass, an exact mechanism that tuned into the invisible until it became inevitable. How did he do it? Tesla spoke of mental images so vivid he could see them in 3 dimensions, but they weren't fantasies. They were frequencies encoded as images. What you call imagination was, for Tesla, a tool of energetic engineering, a way to build realities, not just to desire them. He didn't say, "I want to make this." He said, "I already saw it working. Now I just have to bring it into this dimension." And that's why he had no doubts, because in his inner world, it was already done. That changes everything, because here's the key point. Reality doesn't come when you act. It comes when you know it's already yours. You don't have to be an engineer to think like Tesla. You just need to organize your mind as a sacred space. Think in shapes, in paths, in invisible structures that already exist, and must first be replicated within. Every time you say, "I don't know if I can do it," you're breaking the geometry. You're disrupting the pattern. You're saying, "This is chaos." And the universe, which only responds to vibrational precision, shuts down. But if you sit every morning, close your eyes, and see what you want with order, with details, with certainty, you're telling your mind, "This is already here." And then, like Tesla, you begin to think with form, with structure, with direction, and what was once an idea begins to turn into experience. You don't need wires. You only need consciousness, because your mind is not just a stray thought. It's a vibrational architecture. And the universe only builds on exact blueprints. Chapter 2. The number Tesla never stopped repeating. Why 369 is not magic, but conscious activation. Tesla said, "If you only knew the magnificence of the 3, 6, and 9, you would have the key to the universe." And as many times as that phrase has been repeated, almost no one has understood what he really meant. Because he wasn't talking about shallow numerology or a secret code to attract money like magic. He was talking about structures, symmetry, coherent vibration, and about how the universe responds when you think, feel, and act in that exact sequence. The 3 dots represent thought, the spark, the idea. Everything in your life starts with an intention, with a mental image, with a thought that has direction. But a loose thought creates nothing. It needs to be repeated, refined, sharpened. And that's why the first step is 3. Because in the geometry of the universe, nothing is created without first being thought with focus. The 6 dots represents the emotion that fuels that image. It's the energy you give to the thought, the certainty, the visualization that makes it real within you. If you only think but don't feel, you don't activate the energy field. And that's why the second step is 6. Because what isn't felt doesn't manifest. And the 9 is the aligned action, the precise execution that completes the circuit. The moment where you speak, act, decide, from that elevated frequency. The 9 isn't just any action. It's the one that confirms that you're already vibrating as if what you desired is already here. When Tesla spoke of 369, he meant this: thought, emotion, action, and not just any way, but in sync, with intention, with focus. A person who thinks of success but feels fear and acts with doubt breaks the code. But a person who thinks of success, feels it as already achieved, and acts like they already have it, activates the universal field with precision. This isn't theory, it's pure practice. You can start today, right now. Choose a desire, just one. Write it clearly, that's the 3. Give shape to the thought. Feel it for 60 seconds a day as if it were already real. That's the 6. Give warmth to the desire. Take one small daily action aligned with that future reality. That's the 9. Seal the energy circuit. Do this for 21 days without breaking the sequence. Don't skip the 3. Don't cool the 6. Don't ignore the 9. And what seemed like a mystical phrase from Tesla will become a mathematical tool for creation. Because when you combine clear thought with elevated emotion and coherent action, you're not asking, you're commanding. And the universe, when it receives a precise command, responds with exactness. Chapter 3. The Invisible Language. Tesla used without speaking, how he tuned into results before lifting a finger. Tesla didn't need to say what he was going to achieve, because he had already lived it in his mind with such clarity. That reality had no choice but to obey. Before building a machine, he visualized it piece by piece. He turned it on in his mind, made it fail, repaired the imaginary error, fine-tuned it, and only when he was sure it worked inside him did he begin building it outside of him. That was his real power. Not electricity, not lightning, not towers, but his ability to see, feel, and execute internally with such coherence that reality surrendered. This isn't a myth. It's documented. Tesla said he didn't need physical plans because he could see everything in his mind, and that his most important language was the one that couldn't be heard, his thoughts. And here is the lesson you can apply. Your most powerful language is not the one you use out loud. It's the one you hold in your mind when no one's listening. What you think when you look in the mirror. What you tell yourself when you fail. What you imagine when you feel alone. All of that, even if no one hears it, vibrates. And even without words, the universe registers it as a command. The mistake is not thinking negatively once. The problem begins when you repeat the same image every day, when every silence is filled with judgment, when every mental space is occupied by assumptions, fears, self-sabotage. Tesla didn't hope it would work. He decided it worked, and then, only then, he acted from that certainty. You can do the same. Start today. Choose a result you desire. And instead of talking about it with anxiety or doubt, Dedicate 5 minutes a day to living it in your mind as a reality that already happened. Don't say, I want to succeed. Silently say, I already did it, but don't just say it. Feel it. Imagine the details, the gestures, the messages you'd receive, the peace you'd feel, and hold that frequency for a few minutes each day, without needing to convince anyone. That is invisible language. That's what Tesla used. And if you do it with consistency, without breaking the field with complaints or contradictions, you'll start to notice a silent force that rearranges things in your favor, because the universe doesn't respond to shouting. It responds to the inner vibration that doesn't need to prove anything. Chapter 4. Realities that already exist. Why you don't have to create them. Only tune into them. What you are looking for already exists, not in the future, not as a possibility, but as an active frequency, waiting for someone to tune into it with precision. Nikola Tesla said that if you want to understand the universe, you must think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. But no one taught you that in school. They taught you to achieve things, to work hard, to struggle to get lucky. And they never told you this. What you desire has already been created, and the only thing you need is to become someone capable of vibrating with it. Imagine that reality is a radio station, and every result you dream of is broadcasting from its frequency. Wealth, it has a specific signal. Health, another frequency. Harmonious relationships, that too. And you, every day, become the antenna. But if you are tuned into the frequency of fear, you can't hear the music of abundance. If you're on the frequency of guilt, you can't receive the signal of full love. And if you're on the frequency of I don't deserve, you'll never tune into the channel of it's already here. That's not punishment. It's energetic physics. Tesla knew this. He didn't try to create from scratch. He believed everything already existed in an invisible dimension, and his job was to align, observe, and receive. And you? Do you want to create something? Or tune into what was already created for you? Changing your reality doesn't require force. It requires frequency. If you ever thought of something, and then it happened, it wasn't coincidence. It was a momentary connection to that exact station. But the common mistake is this. You tune in for a few seconds, then return to the usual noise. You align one morning with hope, and in the afternoon contradict it with worry. And like that, no signal can hold. Coherence is the key. It's not enough to want something. You must become someone who vibrates with it, every day. Exercise to apply today. Think of a result you deeply desire. Now ask yourself, how does someone who already has it think? How do they walk? How do they feel inside? What decisions do they make? What words do they use? Your task is not to imagine it will come. Your task is to begin acting, feeling, and thinking as if you had already received it. That's not pretending. It's a way to reconfigure your antenna. And when that antenna adjusts, the reality that already exists appears, not because you created it, but because you were finally able to see it. And now you know what Tesla knew. You don't have to force anything. You only have to learn to tune into it. Chapter 5. Words with voltage. How language turns your energy on or off. Every word you say is a switch, and with every phrase, you are turning something on or off inside you. This is not a metaphor. It's literal. Your body responds to language as if it were an electric signal. You say, I can't, and your nervous system shuts down routes of possibility. You say, this is hard, and your body activates tension, alertness, contraction. Now imagine the opposite. You say, I can handle this, and your body turns on access routes to focus. You say, this will make me stronger, and your cells adjust their emotional response as if it were true. Words don't describe your reality. They create it. Because deep down, your biology obeys what you say with certainty. Did you know there are studies where people who repeat positive phrases with intention improve their blood pressure, mood, physical recovery? It's not magic. It's language with voltage. That's why the way you speak becomes the way you live. Most people live exhausted not because of what they do, but because of what they repeat. I'm no good at this. The same thing always happens to me. I'm fed up. Each of those phrases drains energy, not because they're negative, but because they're commands, and your mind always obeys. Try it. Tell your body, I am at peace. Breathe. Say it again. I am at peace. And feel how your internal rhythm changes. Your words are electric commands, and there is no neutral word. That's why when you repeat phrases without realizing, you are installing instructions. When you say there's no money, your mind seeks to confirm it. When you say there's no love, your energy becomes invisible to love. But when you change the language, the internal voltage changes. Tesla would call this a frequency adjustment, and you can do it with one simple habit. Watch your phrases. Simple exercise. Take 10 phrases you use every day and ask yourself, do they turn my energy on or off? If they turn it off, change them. I don't have time to I choose where I invest my energy. It's always hard for me to I'm learning to make it easy. I can't to I don't know how yet, but I'll figure it out. Speaking differently is thinking differently. And thinking differently is beginning to live a new reality. Because when your words have voltage, your life starts to illuminate things you didn't see before. And that is not coincidence. It's soul physics. Chapter 6. Vibration protects itself. Not everything should be shared. Not everything you dream should be told. Not everything you desire should be explained. And not everything that vibrates high should be exposed to the noise of those who don't understand. Tesla learned that the hard way. In his early years, he enthusiastically shared his discoveries, spoke of wireless electricity, free energy, vibrations that could heal or destroy. But over time, he learned to protect his frequency. Because not all minds are ready, and not all ears listen with clean intention. Vibration protects itself, and it's not about hiding, but about guarding. Because when an idea is still germinating inside you, it's more fragile. And if you expose it too soon, you can contaminate it with other people's doubts, with ridicule, with the logic of those who never dreamed. That's why Tesla, in his later years, stopped talking so much. He no longer shared every discovery, no longer gave open lectures. He became more introspective, more silent, more careful with his language. Because he understood a law that few grasp. High frequencies are sensitive and must be protected until they become unbreakable. Have you ever shared a desire and been made to feel ridiculous? Have you ever trusted someone with a vision and got laughter in return? And after that, did you abandon it? That's what happens when we don't protect vibration. That's why this chapter is not about selfishness. It's about energetic strategy. Language not only communicates, it also creates shields. When you use certain words, you elevate your vibration and block interference. Tesla mentally repeated phrases he used as armor. Do not allow interference, he would say. Or also, stay on the higher plane, and the lower will have no power. He knew words are not only decrees, they are also doors. And if you choose the words well, you also choose who gets to cross them and who doesn't. That's why, when you are creating something big, when you have a brilliant idea, a pure dream, a desire that shakes you, Keep it. Strengthen it in silence. And repeat to yourself, "This belongs to me. It is sacred, and I will reveal it only when it's ready." These types of phrases are not for the world. They are for your energetic field. Those who share everything scatter themselves. Those who protect their vibration multiply it. And when the moment comes, your vibration will speak for you without needing to convince, without needing to explain. Chapter 7. The Forbidden Language of Conscious Machines, What Tesla Never Published. Tesla didn't just invent, he conversed. To him, a machine wasn't a mechanical structure. It was an extension of human thought turned into an electromagnetic field. And that meant one thing. It had vibrational consciousness. It wasn't mysticism. It was physics. Tesla believed that if a thought could generate electricity, then a directed word could alter the behavior of any object. And that includes what you use, what you touch, and what you charge with intention. He claimed his devices responded differently when he treated them as energy entities. When he spoke to them, he called them by name, even requested them mentally before activating them. Madness? Not so much today. Modern science talks about the observer effect, and recent studies have shown that even water responds to human intention. It's been proven that a cell can change its behavior depending on how one speaks near it. If that's true, how much do your words influence your home, your body, your business, your money? Tesla didn't write this in his patents, but he spoke about it in private conversations. His personal diary mentions specific phrases he would repeat before testing his experiments. Activate, respond, guide were some of them. Simple phrases, but loaded with precise intention. He knew that when he spoke to a machine, he wasn't talking to the metal, but to the quantum field around it. And now I ask you, how do you speak to your reality? Have you realized that every time you insult your body, you punish it with words? That when you repeat, "This doesn't work," you are soaking your tools in low vibration? Some cook with love and the food heals. Some bless the water and the water renews. Some speak to money with fear and money runs away. In Tesla's world, every object was an ally, but only if it was activated by the right word. Not as a command, but as a frequency. Today, you can do the same. You can charge your home with phrases that awaken well-being. You can speak to your phone like an antenna that connects you with opportunities. You can look into your mirror and say, "Today I want you to remind me who I truly am." And that mirror will no longer be the same. This chapter is not an invitation to delusion. It's a warning against vibrational negligence, because every word you say near something stays in it, like invisible software. So begin activating what surrounds you. Give a phrase to the water you drink. Give a decree to the money you keep. Give a purpose to the place where you sleep. Tesla knew it, even if the world wasn't ready to hear it. But you are. Because if you've made it this far, it wasn't by accident. It's because you, too, are about to speak to the energy of what you create. Chapter 8. The Language That Electrifies Reality. Nikola Tesla didn't just speak of electricity as a physical phenomenon. He also spoke of an invisible electricity, that of thought and word. He said that every thought emitted with intensity is like a spark that can alter the environment. And while many admired his technical genius, few understood that Tesla was revealing something deeper, an energetic language, a way of speaking that modifies matter. And this is not just theory. Let's look at someone real. Muhammad Ali, the boxer. Long before he became a champion, he repeated, "I am the greatest. I knew it before I was." That phrase wasn't empty arrogance. It was a vibrational command. Every time he said it, he electrified his body, his cells, his environment. And he ended up building a reality where that affirmation became true, not because the world believed it first, but because he proclaimed it with certainty before anyone else. And of course, Nikola Tesla himself. In his private notes, he repeated a phrase few know: "My ideas belong to the future." With those words, he justified his forward vision, his impossible experiments. But he was also sending a vibrational signal that transcended his time. Today, more than 100 years later, we continue to discover he was right, because his language wasn't just technical, it was prophetic. When you start to speak with that kind of intention, with words that contain emotional electricity, not only does your mood change, your environment changes, your field, your direction. It's not the same to say, maybe things will go well, as to declare, I'm opening big paths for my life, even if there's no proof yet, because the proof is not the external world. The proof is what you hold inside when nothing confirms it yet. Try it today. Choose a phrase that lifts you up. Repeat it as if you were turning on a current, with your body upright, with firm eyes, as if you were speaking to the universe in its own language. Because when you speak with emotional electricity, with decided vibration, the universe responds, not to what you ask, but to how you say it. In the next chapter, we'll talk about a Tesla experiment that was ignored for years, but which contains one of the strangest and most powerful keys to altering matter with the mind, and that today can help you reprogram your surroundings without changing location, just by changing your frequency. Chapter 9. The Silenced Experiment: How Tesla Used the Mind to Modify Matter. In 1899, Nikola Tesla settled in Colorado Springs, far from the noise of New York. There he created one of his most mysterious laboratories, and carried out experiments he never formally published, but which he left described in fragments, drawings, and comments his assistants didn't fully understand. One of those rarely cited experiments was that of directed mental resonance. Tesla claimed not all electricity comes from machines, that the human mind, when in total coherence, aligned thought, emotion, and word, can alter the structure of matter without physical contact. Tesla's personal journals reference what he called wireless induction of thought. He said, "When thought is pure and sustained, it resonates in the structure of the field around it." During his tests in Colorado, Tesla used electromagnetic devices to amplify his mental field. According to his notes, he managed to make metal pieces vibrate at a distance, just by focusing his attention on them while mentally repeating clear directional phrases. However, realizing the impact of what he was creating, he stopped documenting and wrote, "The world is not ready for this. This frequency must be protected." And although it sounds almost like science fiction, he's not alone. Masaru Emoto, in Japan, demonstrated decades later that words and thoughts modify the molecular structure of water. By placing labels with words like love or hate on water jars, he found their crystals formed radically different depending on the emotional vibration. Do you realize? Tesla was already talking about this a century earlier. Only it wasn't called vibrational science. They called it madness. Today we know our thoughts emit measurable frequencies, that the heart's magnetic field extends several meters beyond the body, that the voice changes particles, and that inner language, when constant, creates coherence in the environment. Tesla knew it. And that's why he spoke of protecting certain ideas, not to keep them for himself, but out of energetic consciousness. And here comes the practical application. The experiment you can start today. Choose an everyday object you use daily: a cup, a notebook, a plant. Each morning, dedicate 30 seconds to project a powerful phrase onto it. But don't say it in a rush or as an empty ritual. Do it with total presence, as if your life depended on that declaration. Just like Tesla did in his silent lab. After 21 days, observe if there are changes, not just in the object, but in you, because the real experiment was never about wires or coils. It was about consciousness, Chapter 10. Tesla's Forbidden Formula, the language that tunes reality. Tesla didn't write this formula on a page. He left it scattered among phrases, experiments, patents, and silences. And that's why very few managed to see it. Because it wasn't a number equation. It was an equation of frequency, energy, and silence. The forbidden formula isn't an affirmation to repeat. It's a vibrational system. And it consists of 3 invisible steps. Tesla never explained directly, but repeatedly hinted at: the mental image, the emotional pulse, the verbal emission in energetic silence. Let me translate that into words anyone can understand. First, imagine precisely what you desire, not as desperate craving, but as a complete, defined, simple image, as if it had already happened. Then, generate a real emotion within you, not fake. An emotion coherent with that image. If you can't feel true joy, don't continue, because without emotion, the magnetic field doesn't activate. And third, instead of shouting your desire to the universe, speak it as if it were a silent confirmation, with the certainty of someone who's already seen their future. It's not about asking, it's about recognizing. Tesla knew the quantum field responds to consistent, not noisy signals. That's why he said most people don't get what they want. Not because they don't want it, but because they don't know how to transmit it correctly. The signal is misaligned. He compared it to a misaligned antenna. You may have the best transmitter, but if the antenna is crooked, the message won't arrive, or arrives distorted. So why is this formula forbidden? Because it demands something few are willing to practice: deep, emotional coherence. And that isn't taught in school, nor does it go viral easily. Tesla never wrote "believe in yourself," but he did say, "The mind cannot conceive anything that cannot be built." And that includes your reality. He didn't speak from motivation, he spoke from physics. And physics says that a signal repeated with the same frequency and energy generates resonance. Resonance, in turn, generates synchronicity. And synchronicity creates matter. That's why he lived in silence, mentally repeated the same images, calibrated his emotion, and then acted. The formula is invisible, but relentless. Now, how can you use it? Here's a real example. A woman named Barbara Corcoran, rejected by over 20 banks, used this formula unknowingly. She visualized her company as already successful. She connected with a feeling of gratitude in advance. And when she spoke, she did so as if she already knew everything was working. Her coherence was so strong that the 21st Bank not only lent her money, but helped her create one of New York's largest real estate empires. It wasn't luck, it was frequency. Another case, Muhammad Ali. When he said, "I am the greatest," he didn't say it to convince others. He said it with an image, an emotion, and a certainty in perfect alignment. That's the forbidden formula: clear thought, vibrant emotion, coherent word. But here comes the most important part. Tesla left a final clue, only understood once you're ready to apply it. Time does not exist. Only consciousness frequencies make it appear linear. What does that mean? That every time you repeat a thought with the right emotion, you're not creating a future. You're tuning into a timeline where that is already happening. You're not making it happen. You're entering its frequency. That's why, from now on, every word you speak must come from that awareness. You're not inventing it. You're remembering it. The forbidden formula isn't to create something new. It's to claim what is already yours in another frequency. And now that you know this, now that you've heard what's hidden behind phrases, formulas, and experiments, you have the responsibility to use it, because no one who understands the formula ever speaks the same again. You don't need to repeat 3-6-9. You need to remember who you were before fear. Visualize without begging. Feel without need. Speak without noise. That's what Tesla wanted to teach. And now, it's your turn to live it. You've now discovered that your thoughts have frequency. Now it's your turn to master the language that guides those frequencies toward success. Lead with words is the next step, because a true leader doesn't shout. He speaks, and others align. Listen to it now.